to another episode of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? I'm your host, Karen E. Osborne, and I am really quite excited about my guest today. She's got such an interesting backstory and wonderful book. So let me introduce you to Marjorie McCown. Hey, Marjorie.
Hey, Karen, thank you for having me today. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Well, the feeling is mutual. So that's really good. So Marjorie, she worked for years on top Hollywood films. It's already had me intrigued as a costumer. And now she writes mysteries from an insider's point of view. She's writing mysteries from something she knows really well, but hopefully she wasn't involved in a lot of murders. So in this second Hollywood mystery, this is her second book in a series, right? Film customer Joey Jessup, is that how you pronounce your main character's
Okay,
name?
that's perfect.
Discovers that Hollywood buries its secrets deep when a superstar's assistant turns up dead. Whoa. So this sounds like such a fun read. And I was telling Marjorie before we got on the air that I had sent her book to my daughter, who is so interested in this. She doesn't watch most of my interviews, but she's gonna watch this one, she told me. Um,
I'm
so
flattered.
before we talk about the book itself, tell us a little bit about your life in the movies.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I'll start by saying that I started out in New York um,
Mm.
first, and I worked in the movies just a tiny bit, just day playing there because I was really a theater and opera designer.
Oh.
Yes, yeah. After college, I assisted a wonderful Broadway designer named Patricia Ziprot, who designed the original Cabaret Chicago. Yeah, and Fiddler on the Roof. She changed the face of American theatrical design with Fiddler on the Roof. But anyway, Patricia taught me a lot. Really, when I'd been assisting her for a couple of years, she started recommending me for my own job. So I designed in theater and opera because Beverly Sills was one of my early mentors too. So I
Mm.
designed in New York City Opera, but I did a little day playing on movies, just here and there, would pick up a few days work. And I finally decided I should really check that out as an option, for a number of mostly practical reasons, although I was curious about it. So when I decided that I was really going to seriously concentrate on film, I moved out to Los Angeles. I kept my apartment in New York for a couple of years, but I moved out to Los Angeles to really give it a try. That was in 1990. And within 2 weeks of landing in Los Angeles, I was working on as an assistant designer on the first Addams Family movie. And um, I, I took that as a sign. And for the next 27 years, I worked in Hollywood, and I was very fortunate to work on the costumes for some wonderful movies like Forrest Gump, Apollo 13, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, X-Men Days of Future Past. And I did a number of jobs. I did work as a costume designer, assistant costume designer, and key costumer. So I kind of, ran the gamut of the costume department. And yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful work, wonderful people in the community. As I say, I'm just very fortunate to have had those experiences.
Yes, it's a wonderful thing to be truly happy in your work. I too
Yes.
am blessed that way that I was so happy in my work. I'm also, though, very happy in not doing that anymore. But it was a wonderful, wonderful run. So, what inspired you to say, okay, I am going to write a murder mystery?
Well, couple of things. Um, I from a very young age, I was always interested in writing, but I diverted into theater and costume design. And costume design is really, I won't get in the weeds about this, but costume design is really about storytelling. because it's about using clothing to help tell a story about characters in a particular situation. And every film is its own world. And I've thought for a long time that a big movie, even before I started writing the mysteries. Oh, but you asked why murder mysteries. Well, I've been a murder mystery fan for my entire life. And when I started working in film, I almost exclusively read murder mysteries, because after a long day on the set where you're just like, so focused on so many details, and it's wonderful, but it's also, it really amps you, and really gets your brain buzzing. And to turn that buzz off and to just be able to relax at night. A murder mystery was about the only thing that would do that. I mean, I have always read at night, but the murder mystery with the puzzle and being able to dive into that was really a great way to click off from the workday. So anyway, I read thousands of murder mysteries. And when I decided that I was really going to try and seriously concentrate on the craft of writing, that was what I wanted to do. And I've also thought, this is where I was getting to at that point. I thought for a long time, even before I started writing them, that a big movie would be the perfect setting for a murder mystery, because a movie company is its own kind of community with hundreds of different people, but it's its own unique community with a specific set of relationships and always plenty of drama going on. And because of my perspective, as you talked about, I wanted to take readers on an insider's tour of what it's like to go into the everyday working world of a movie in production, which is something they don't really see on the red carpet, because, yeah. So that was part of it. And in that too, as part of that working world, I wanted to shine a light on the costume community. I mean, the whole crew, everybody behind the scenes, but the costume community, and show what a complicated job we have, because nobody outside the industry knows about that. Why would they?
Yeah, yeah.
And I wanted to show what a huge number of talents and skills we all need to get the work done. So it was a combination of all those.
Very, very exciting. And also I think that people will just be so intrigued by the fact that you,
Oh,
oh, I do. I think this is gonna be a big hit. They're gonna make a movie out of your book about the movies.
oh, from your lips, Karen.
So tell us a little bit about that first book, that writing journey. How long did it take? What were some of your struggles?
Oh boy, I think every writer who is trying to get published goes through many similar struggles. I was very, very, again, blessed and fortunate, because of my interest and involvement with mysteries, I'd started to going to some of the conferences, because,
Oh.
as a reader, as somebody who was interested in the community. And I wrote for my own creative satisfaction, but I went to a California Crime Writers Conference while I was still very much um, immersed in the movie community. And I paid $50, and I had them, you pay $50, you say, here are 5 pages of my manuscript. Will somebody critique them for me, some professional? And it could have been a publisher, it could have been an editor, it could have been another writer who was successful and been published, or an agent. And my 5 pages happened to go to an agent. And
Mm.
when we sat down to talk about the pages, she said, well, do you have a completed manuscript? I almost did. So I said, yes, I do. And she said, all right, well, if you want to, send me the manuscript, and if it's as promising as these 5 pages, we can talk about signing a representation contract. And she's still my agent today. And
Wow.
so I had that, and even at the time I was speechless. I just sat staring at her across the table like, oh my goodness, really? Um, and she's wonderful. Her name is Anne Collette. She's wonderful. And she has really guided me in so many ways that have helped smooth the way for me. Not that we got the first book sold right away, but she, stuck with me and supported me. And I always had, her strong support at my back, guiding me, teaching me. And so she was the one who, even though I'd had all these thoughts about movie companies and murder mysteries and all of that, she's the one who really convinced me to write Final Cut set in the middle of the film industry, because I wanted to do something film industry adjacent. She's like,
Do it
you
right
do
in the middle.
write what you know. So thank you, Anne.
Yes, thank you, Anne. We all thank you, Anne, because this is so good. And now we have a second book. So tell us a little bit about the premise of Star. It's called Starstruck, right?
Right,
So
right.
tell us premise. Does that give? First of all, let me ask you, because this is the series, right?
Yes.
So is this could this be a standalone, or should the readers really read the first book first?
Thank you. That's such a good question. And no, I actually wrote Starstruck. I didn't want to do an information dump, but at the beginning, in the very first of the book, I give a little wrap up, just a paragraph of what's gone before in the first book, just to set up Joey as a character and hopefully set up the arc she's going to have through this next book, which in some ways is based on some emotional trauma she experienced in the first book. Nothing that has um, pulled her under, but it informs the rest of her life, as every learning experience, we hope, does that for ourselves. So anyway, no, it's not it could be a standalone. I mean, if you just picked up Starstruck and read it, I hope that it would stand by itself, but it does have the connection of,
Because it's part
yeah,
of a
the
series.
main character is
Yeah.
the same. And yes, and there are some characters from the first book that also reappear in the second book. But again, there's nothing that you need to know that will, I hope, impede your enjoyment of the second book by itself.
So
It's a
tell
long,
us about the second book.
okay. Well, you set it up very well, because Joey's working on a movie, another movie from the one she was working on in Final Cut, with two of the biggest box office stars in the world.
Mm.
Although the leading lady, whose name is Gillian Best, is known more for her lifestyle brand than her acting. And then after a fatal traffic accident that happens very near the movie set, Joey realizes that the car involved belongs to Gillian. And she starts to wonder if the actress has more to hide than her Botox appointments. And so and because she has because of something that happens at the first of the book, she also has a personal interest in the person that was killed in that accident. And because
Oh,
of those two reasons, even though it is an accident, it's nobody did it on purpose. And but she's invested personally enough, both because of Jillian's vehicle and because of the girl that was run down. She starts digging a little bit, and then Jillian's personal assistant has a confrontation with the actress on set in front of the entire crew, and some of the heated words that are exchanged deepen Joey's suspicions about what has really gone on with that accident. And 3 days later, that assistant turns up dead, apparently a suicide, but Joey has her doubts of that too. So that is the premise
that's the
of the
setup.
book.
Wow. I love murder mysteries.
Me too.
I do. I've only written one so far. That my second book, my next book, number 5, is going to be another murder mystery. But I do read a lot of them. They're so good. This one sounds amazing. So tell me
Oh,
what you love about Joey.
okay. I love that I think of her like I would a younger colleague that I would want to mentor in the industry. She's very committed to her work. Has an amazing skill set that she's always interested in making better. She's very, very competent. But what I like best about her is that she has the kind of empathy and commitment to collaborative work within her community that I always respected so much and I tried to um, be an emblem of that too in my professional and personal life. But I admired that so much in my colleagues, particularly my colleagues who were extremely accomplished at what they did. And that's what I see in Joey, that even though she's committed to the work and a hard worker and very, very serious and good at her craft, she never lets her priorities get skewed to the point where she doesn't realize that the people who are doing the work with her are more important than the work itself, no matter what. So
Yes. Oh, I like her already too. She sounds like a lovely, lovely person. How old is Joey?
Joey's 35.
That's a good age. Yeah.
She's
So
been doing
what
it
is
for about 15 years. So she has enough experience in the movies to have a very strong, but she also has a career trajectory that can still, well, no matter how long you're doing something like that, a creative pursuit, whether it be writing, or probably math and business and all of that stuff, as long as you remain curious and engaged, you're always going to grow and learn. So
yes.
that's the kind of person she is.
That sounds excellent. So are you writing? Oh, excuse me.
Sure.
Are you writing the third book yet? Have you started it?
No, although I do have a big, really long for this one. I'm an outliner anyway, and I usually do like a 25-page outline that I use as, well, actually, this is actually an analogy I've used before, but it's very true. I use it almost like the shot list for camera setups in a movie. So it's just like a little roadmap of bullet points. So it leaves me enough, it gives me a structure without tying me into a lot of detail, because I can go wherever I want to with it, really. But this new outline is 55 pages long.
Boy.
So I've gone into a little more detail with this one. And in fact, I was thinking this morning as I was brushing my teeth, I really need to sit down and write that first chapter, because I already know it. And when I'm writing a book, I have to see it, which is part of the shot list thing too. I'm always,
Mhm.
when I'm writing, I have to see it. If I can see it, I can write it. And if I can't see it, I can't write it. So I'm seeing this first chapter and I feel like, oh, it's time to get it down. So
Get going. You said that you've read a lot of mysteries in the past. Is there a book that really helped shape you, and maybe it wasn't a mystery, but some book or author that you feel had a big impact on your career, your writing career, personal life?
such a great question. And yes, I mean, really so many, because like you, I'm a lifelong reader. And the first author who really had a big impact on me was Kenneth Grahame when I was 8 years old with Wind in the Willows.
Yes.
That book rocked me as an 8-year-old. In fact, I didn't know fan fiction was, I don't even know if there was fan fiction back then, but I did fan fiction for Wind in the Willows because I just loved that book so much. I just wanted to be subsumed by that book. So that was early. And I think I've been just, from then on, I knew books were going to be my main source of entertainment, quite frankly, for the rest of my
Mhm.
life. And that has proved true through this day. And then as I got older, I mean, Edith Wharton and Jane
Mhm.
Austen are two of, I think
Mhm.
most writers will say the same thing,
Yep.
but no, I read The House of Mirth every year. And I read Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. I can't even tell you how many times I've read them, but it's about time to start rereading them again, because I just want to go back and be, again, I think in those worlds. And it's not that the book is different or I find something different in those books every time I read them, but just like any other experience, I think they hit you in a different way. You're in a different place in your life when you're reading them. And so it's a slightly different experience. And at the same time, so familiar. And the language is so beautiful and the
Yes.
characters are so wonderful and
Yeah.
engaged. So
Yes, yes. So, we're close on time here.
oh my gosh, Karen.
But no, but this is great. This is awesome. So there's, is there a book, just one book that you might recommend, that you've recently read?
Okay. Okay. I actually have four that I would say.
Pick
would
one.
be- okay, pick one. I'm just going to pick the fun one. Tess Gerritsen, The Spy Coast, about retired spies who are 60 years old living on the Maine coast, and because of a job that went wrong 16 years ago, they're drawn back into the life. And it's a great thriller, but it's really the characters and those relationships. And it's the first in this series for her. And those characters and relationships are what's going to take me back to, keep me going back to that series for the next installment.
It's wonderful. Say the author's name again.
S. Gerritsen. She wrote the Rizzoli and Isles books. She's
Oh, mhm.
she's quite quite an accomplished writer, but this book, it's,
Great.
yeah,
You've added to my to be read book list, so I thank you for that.
just total fun.
So now that our audience is totally intrigued, how can they find you? Where are you online? How can they find out more about you, your books, everything?
The best place is to go to my website, marjoriemccown.com. All of my social media links are on there. And also, I have a little newsletter sign up. And if they want to, they can sign up for my newsletter. And by signing up for the newsletter, they can read the first chapter of Starstruck for free.
And that's excellent. You heard that. So go sign up. Go sign up. And then follow Marjorie on all of her links. And I hope you're already following me on Instagram and BookBub and Facebook and YouTube, right? You follow us both. And I thank you so much, Marjorie. This has been such a fun conversation. And I thank all of you for being here. And I'll see you next week. What are you reading? What are you writing? Have a great week.